All right. Lot of familiar faces, new faces. Namaste. Let me start with the customary chant. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace. Namaste and good evening, everybody. So I must thank FIU, the Hindu Students Organization, Kevin and his team for organizing this and having us here on the beautiful campus this evening. The subject that I have chosen is the way of knowledge, Vedanta, the way of knowledge. What I'll do is I'll dive right into this subject, give us an introduction, give us hopefully a practical taste of what is meant by the way of knowledge, and then open it up for discussions, for question and answer. I'll try to keep track of the time. All right, here goes. In spiritual life, we have different paradigms or different approaches. So, in order to understand, appreciate what is the way of knowledge, it's important to distinguish it from conceptions of spiritual life which we all have. Um, so, for example, I'll broadly speak about three main approaches to spiritual life. The first one is the most familiar. The reason I'm doing this is not that I'm going to say one is right or the others are wrong. Let me say at the outset, all of them are right. They all work. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna's great conclusion after his varied experiments in mystical life and spiritual life. In Bengali, he said, Jatomat Tatopat, as many faiths, as many faiths, approaches, they're all ways to spiritual realization. As many faiths, so many paths. So they're all right. They're all wonderful. And one, come on in, just the seat all over the place. So there are different paths to spiritual realization, spiritual life. One of those paths is most familiar to us. It's the God-centered path, the devotional path, you know, where we are told that there is a God, and who is typically the creator of this entire universe, and omniscient, omnipresent, all the omnis. And you have devotion to God, faith in God, surrender to God, and that is the way. And God will take it. The rest of it, you leave it to God. Our ultimate God realization, enlightenment, moksha, nirvana, salvation, it all depends on the grace of God. And of course, our own love, devotion, prayer, surrender to God. So that's the devotional paradigm. Um, in Sanskrit, there's a word for it, bhakti, love of God, devotion to God. That's one. But we are not concerned with that today. There is another way. See, each of these paradigms, they have their own way of situating the problem and the solution. Each of them have their own merits, their own defects. Um, so in the bhakti paradigm, the idea is that the problem is, we see God exists. And the problem is we don't have faith, we don't have belief, we don't have love, devotion, surrender. And the solution is to have faith or love or surrender to God. Now, the problem in this approach is, of course, one big problem would be skepticism. In this day and age, the great atheists of our time, Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harris and who else? Richard Dawkins and all. Sometimes when people are very emotional about religion, very sentimental, I say you go through a course, like an antibiotic course, 30 days, listen to Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris. It will cure you of your religion. um, that's the problem with this devotional path. The problem is, yeah, is atheism, is skepticism. And in today's world, somebody said, in this world of ours today, We have the largest number of non-believers in God, atheists or agnostics, ever in human history, especially with the advance of humanism and science. It becomes difficult to defend some of the um, um, the dogma that is associated with this path. In this path, the thing is, in the path of devotion, it starts with faith and it proceeds with faith. At the very beginning, you can't say that I don't believe. I don't believe all this. If you say that, this path will not start for you. It starts with belief and faith, and it depends on faith to proceed. Why I'm saying proceed? At the end of it, it's no longer faith; it's actually realization, and that's possible. As against this, there is another way, which is the way of, I would say, experience, uh, mystical experience, extraordinary experience. In Sanskrit, you might call it the yogic way. Here, the paradigm is not that you have to believe in something. It really doesn't depend on faith. It is possible to experience that spiritual reality which is taught. So, as Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda put it, if God exists, I should be able to see God. If I have an immortal soul, I should be able to feel it. It should be experiential. He said, religion is not believing in a book, religion is realization. So this was a powerful message. Vivekananda brought it to the United States. In fact, the young student Narendranath Datta, most of us Indians we know, he becomes Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, because of this kind of approach to religion. He went around, if you remember, late 19th century Calcutta, asking religious teachers, have you seen God? Not that does God exist or why should I believe in God? No, have you seen God? And of course, he found his teacher, Sri Ramakrishna, who gave a very direct answer. Yes, I have seen. And so can you. And Vivekananda would later say in this country, in the late 19th century, when he came here, he would say that if somebody says, I have seen, you cannot, and you must believe me, don't believe in such a person. But if somebody says, I have seen, and you can see too, you can believe in such a person. So this path, an example would be, a classic example would be Patanjali Yoga Sutras, where it's not a question of believing in something. You're very clearly told, this is how you practice. This is how you sit. This is how you breathe. This is how you withdraw your senses from the world outside. This is how you turn inwards and focus. And in that practice, ultimately, the fact that we are not the body, we are not the mind, we're this luminous, ever-present consciousness, this becomes revealed to us. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That's a sutra, Yoga Sutra. Yoga is cessation of the modifications of the mind. And then what happens if you can calm the mind down in deep meditation? The claim is that the next sutra says, Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. At that time, the witness consciousness is appreciated, realized in its real nature. That as you see that you are awareness itself. You're not a body with mind and awareness. You're awareness experiencing the mind and the body and the world. That's one approach. That's one approach. And Patanjali Yoga Sutras is one such classic experiential approach to spiritual. But there are others also. There are Buddhist paths, there are tantric paths to this experiential approach. Sri Ramakrishna was a super mystic, let's say, extraordinary experiences. He had visions of God. For him, God was mother, was the divine feminine mother. Now, this also, here the paradigm is, the yogic path, the path of experience is, the paradigm is, the problem is the restlessness of the mind. And if you can calm and focus and center the mind enough, the solution is meditation and centering the mind and quietening the mind, you will get enlightenment or realization. Again, the problem with this kind of an approach is it can still be doubted. Mystics, mystics of all ages, what's the first problem they face? Even someone like Sri Ramakrishna. The first thing people would say is, you're crazy. And it's natural because the mystic is seeing something, claiming an experience which the rest of us don't have. If you read the accounts of Sri Ramakrishna having a vision of Kali, but you notice also that the people who are watching this, they are not having that vision. They're amazed. This person is there. They feel a kind of vibration. They feel a kind of atmosphere in the room, upliftment. But clearly they are not seeing God or Kali or anything like that. Now, this immediately leads to the charge of, if it's not a public experience, if it's not a shared experience, If I say, for example, if I say here we are all sitting in this room, pretty much everyone here would agree. But if I say here we are all sitting in this room and I am seeing God right here, you would say, are you sure, Swami, you're not high on something? You say that. And today, people might not say you're crazy, but a neuroscientist might come and say that um, we don't doubt that you are experiencing light or you're feeling one with the universe. But it's not that actually you're actually one with the universe. It's just that you have a stroke on this part of your brain and you're bleeding from that side, and that's why you're feeling. There was, in fact, one of the most popular TED talks was this lady. She's a trained neuroscientist herself, and she had a stroke and she had an epiphany, a spiritual experience of oneness with the universe. And she explains how, because of that event in the brain, she got this kind of a feeling. Just because you get this feeling doesn't mean it's true. It could be just some like neurological problem in the brain, some kind of pathology. So that this is a problem with the path of mystical experience, extraordinary experience. It can be doubted. It can be doubted. There are genuine mystical experiences. That's the record of all the mystics of all the religions in the world. That there are genuine ways of experiencing the divine, and those are extraordinary and very valuable mystical experiences. There's no doubt about that. But then, how do you distinguish between what is genuine and what might be pathological, what might be caused um, by these? There's a whole new science of hallucinogens and all that. They give you all sorts of experiences. So that's the second approach, the path of mystical experience. Now, I'm saying all of this to build it up to what I'm going to talk about, to distinguish carefully. So, the third one, which I'm going to speak about today, also happens to be my favorite sort of subject, which I want to talk about, is what is less known than these two other paths. Is less known. Um, the way of faith, devotion, love of God, most well known. Everybody's familiar, whether you believe in it or not. Most people who believe in God are on that path. Most people who are against God and against religion, they're attacking that path, path of belief. The second path, the path of mystical experience, has become more and more well known, especially in the United States since the whole New Age movement and everything. I sort of think it became prominent. It was always there, but became prominent with the arrival of Vivekananda in the late 19th century. But also became very prominent in American culture about the 1960s, 70s onwards, the New Age movement. Now, I want to distinguish this from the other two approaches, and I want to show you I would like to argue for some special advantages this third path has. What is this third path, and what are its advantages? This third way, the way of knowledge, it says that we are already what we are seeking for. That immortality, that limitless existence consciousness bliss, which in Vedanta is called Sat Chit Ananda, existence consciousness bliss. We already are that, and so are you. Everybody is. And the real problem is we don't know it. We are under ignorance and error. So we think, not only think, we are absolutely sure I am this body and mind. I am this little person. We don't even question it. Even when we come to spiritual life, I am this person, but I'm in search of something extraordinary, divine, spiritual, God, whatever. But me, I don't ever look back at myself. I see myself as an established fact. Vedanta, the way of knowledge, questions this and says that you are that which you are seeking for. The whole of the Vedantic teaching can be summarized in one short sentence. Quite familiar. You are that. Tattvamasi. It's from the Upanishads, Chandogya Upanishad. So the claim here is the problem is ignorance. And the problem is ignorance. The solution is knowledge. What was the problem in the first path, the path of devotion? The problem was lack of faith. And the solution is faith and devotion. What is the problem in the second path, in the path of experience, mystical experience? It was your restlessness of the mind, and then the solution was to calm the mind and focus it in meditation, in samadhi, and then you get this experience. In this path, in the way of knowledge, the problem is said to be ignorance. It's not so much lack of faith. No, you're not supposed to take anything on faith. This is one great advantage. In this path, you don't start with faith. I mean, yeah, there's a kind of faith you start with. And that's the kind of faith which everybody has. Anybody who turns up to this classroom to listen to a professor speak about any subject, physics or mathematics, you turn up with some faith that this guy is going to talk about something real and substantial. You don't start by thinking the guy is a liar and the textbooks are fake news. Then you can't learn anything. But you have a working faith. There's something worthwhile here. That much is enough. In the way of knowledge, that much is enough. There's something worthwhile here. Let me pursue this and try to get it. The whole point, as we shall see this evening, is to try to get it. So it's not a question of believing in something. The second point is also subtle and not well understood. The path of knowledge in Sanskrit, jnana, and the path of meditative realization, yoga, there is a distinction. This distinction is not well understood. The distinction is this. In the path of yoga, we pursue certain extraordinary experiences which are not commonly available to us. But through meditation, we achieve those states of mind and we experience that. And that's supposed to prove to us the claims that you're an immortal soul or God exists or whatever. Whereas the advantage, the uniqueness and advantage of this path of knowledge, as we shall see as we go, as the evening goes on, we are not relying on any extraordinary experience. All you need on this path is the kind of experience everybody has all the time. For example, subject and object. You are the seer and you're seeing this world. You can experience your own body. The subject, object, the mode of experience which everybody has. Or waking, dreaming, deep sleep. Just this. Something that everybody has, a quotidian, daily experience. That is enough to begin the path of knowledge, the inquiry. So this is an advantage because if the claim is you have to believe, it can be doubted. If the claim is that, see, you have to have this particular experience, well, until you have that experience, it still is a bit of a question of belief. And also, even if you do have the experience, somebody else can doubt it also. Whereas in this path, we are not talking about anything extraordinary. We'll see. And every step of the way, there's no question of believing in something. It is entirely rational. It's a rational inquiry, a logical inquiry, a philosophical inquiry into what? Into our already available experience, what we already have. This is a great thing, an amazing thing. That's what makes it so immediately appealing. So I talk with not only people from religion or mysticism, but also I talk with cognitive scientists. I talk with philosophers of mind. These are people, if I went to them with talking about God in this form, they'll say, get out of here. We're not interested. But if I talk about mind and consciousness, they have to listen because that's exactly what they're trying to study. So this is the path of knowledge. The claim here is that we already are this limitless awareness. You realize that's what is called the Atman or Brahman in Vedanta. And it can be realized by inquiry. The method here, the method in the path of love or devotion is devotion, bhakti, worship. The method in the path of mystical experience is often meditation. Here, the peculiar method, the unique method is an inquiry into our own experience, the already available experience, and a logical inquiry. Okay, so this is the foundation. I have tried to distinguish the way of knowledge, jnana yoga, from the way of devotion and the way of mystical experience or yoga. Bhakti, yoga, jnana. I'm trying to make a distinction. Remember, however, this is just for the purpose of understanding. An actual spiritual practitioner, many are here practitioners, you would not make so much of a big deal about it because you would go on practicing the elements of all in your spiritual life. I do, so do I. One of our great Swami Brahmananda said, when somebody pressed him for spiritual advice, what do I practice? He's the simplest of advice. He said, try to keep your mind always on God. It's what I do. Do not make so much of a distinction between knowledge and devotion and yoga and jnana and bhakti. try to keep your mind on that reality. Practically, that's what most actual practitioners do. So having said that, that's a kind of warning. What we just did is a bit of an academic exercise, separating for the sake of understanding. However, it's valuable. Now, I still haven't started. I'm going to start the way of knowledge. We have set the sort of foundation and the background for this. You notice it says Vedanta, the way of knowledge. And most of us, we are aware of what Vedanta is, even if you're not. It's just these texts. Vedanta is these texts called Upanishads. These are the final spiritual philosophical teachings of the Vedas. The Vedas are the core, the oldest foundational religious texts of the Hindus. So in that, you will find these Upanishads. These Upanishads particularly are called the textual basis of Vedanta. Literally, in fact, if you ask what is Vedanta, one answer. Yeah, but I was asked to give a talk on what is Vedanta in St. Louis a couple of years back. So I thought of it and gave 7 answers. But the first answer would be something that an academic might want to know. What's the textual basis? What are you talking about when you say Vedanta? Well, we are talking about the texts called the Upanishads. And these Upanishads, and of course, in addition to that, one text which would represent Hinduism, if you just wanted one text, it would be the Bhagavad Gita. That is also Vedanta. And there is also this text called the Brahma Sutras, which is an analysis of the philosophical questions arising out of a study of the Upanishads. Then these Upanishads, Gita, Brahma Sutras, they have been commented upon and interpreted across the centuries, in fact, millennia, by multiple masters in multiple ways. And the schools of Hinduism, the various schools, the flavors of Hinduism, if you will, have emerged from these various interpretations. Come on here, there's a chair here. The various schools of Hinduism have, philosophical schools have emerged from these interpretations of the Upanishads. There are devotional schools like the Vaishnava schools, but there is also the Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual Vedanta, which today is what I'm going to talk about. So what I just did was I narrowed down our focus. When I say Vedanta, it means a whole range of philosophical schools in Hinduism. In a broad sense, Vedanta is kind of the philosophy of Hinduism, let's say. When you go to different Hindu sects, temples, if you ask behind the bewildering variety of images and rituals, what's going on philosophically behind it, you'll probably find one or the other school of Vedanta. But we are here, we're speaking about one particular school of Vedanta. So I'm narrowing it down further. This is called Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta. Why it's non-dual, we'll learn later in the course of this evening. Here, the peculiar method, here the message is that you are already that reality which you're looking for. And if you realize that you are that, it will solve all your problems. All your problems at a deep existential level. Will it solve your financial problems? May or may not. But will you solve your deep existential question, fear, unhappiness, misery, lack of fulfillment? Will it solve that? Yes, it will solve it. Will it give you lasting, deep fulfillment? Yes, it will. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, having attained that, after which nothing higher remains to be attained, being established in which the greatest of sorrows cannot shake you. So having attained that, once you realize you are this Atman, Brahman, pure consciousness, you feel there's nothing more to be attained in life. One way it is put is, once you attain this enlightenment, it is said, you have attained what has to be attained in human life. You have done what has to be done in life. And you have got what has to be, or you have known what has to be known in life. Having done what has to be done, having got what has to be got, and known what has to be known in human life. Imagine the fulfillment. So this is our quest. In a sense, it's the final quest. Beyond the quest of art, or knowledge, or of social welfare, of good causes in this world. Beyond all of that is this final quest of what are we, what's the ultimate nature of things, and what's our ultimate goal. In fact, let me just say here something very interesting. According to Advaita Vedanta, or Upanishads also, The nature of ultimate reality is called Brahman. The word Brahman, if you etymologically, it just means the vast, the expansion without limit, the vast. Now, one way Brahman is expressed in the Upanishads is existence, consciousness, bliss. So, what is ultimate reality? Sat, Chit, Ananda, which is translated as existence, consciousness, bliss. And those of you who study philosophy, you will immediately begin to note something. It struck me just, it's a very simple thing, but it struck me quite late, only just in the last 1 or 2 years. The fundamental questions, the biggest questions that we ask in philosophy: what is real? How do you know anything? And what's the point of it all? Metaphysics, what is real? The study of what is real. Another new word for that, a fancy new word for that is ontology, the study of being. And how do you know anything? How do you know anything at all? God exists, the world is false, or Brahman, whatever you call it. How do you know? Epistemology, the study of knowledge. And what's the point of it all? Earlier, there used to be multiple disciplines: aesthetics, values, ethics. Now they have all been clubbed. There's a new term, axiology, which means the study of values. It could be aesthetic values, moral values. What's the point of it all? Now look at the definition of the ultimate, or the way ultimate reality is conceived in Vedanta. Existence, what is real? Being itself is real. Being itself is real. How do you know anything? Consciousness. All knowledge is possible because of consciousness. And what's the point of it? What's the ultimate point of anything at all? Morality, art, fulfillment, ananda, limitless fulfillment, happiness, bliss, whatever you call it. So I was just thinking, the way the ultimate reality has been conceived of in Vedanta, it covers the entire range of the greatest questions which humanity has ever had. What is real? How do we know anything at all? What's the point of it all? Anyway, just an observation. But not just an observation. We're going to discover it today, right now. According to Vedanta, all of this reality is present right now, right here. And it is you. The goal of Vedanta, the reality that Vedanta talks about, the way of knowledge talks about, it's not something that is separate from us by distance. One way to ask this question would be, what is the spiritual journey in the way of knowledge? What is it like? Well, it's not a journey in space. What I mean by that is sometimes you see the big board set up. Heaven is a place. So if heaven is a place, it means it's not this place. It's that place. So it's where you go to. It's not here, it's there. The poet we read, I think it was Robert Browning, or God's in his heaven and all's right with the world. Very nice poet. So God's where? In heaven, not here. There, not here. But Vedanta says it's not a journey from here to there. It's right here. Whatever we are seeking for is right here. It's also not a journey in time, not now and then. Another board I have seen on the way when you drive, you see board. After death, you will see God. Rather ominous. Big black board. After big letters, after death, you will see God. And below that, call 1800 something like that. But what struck me was the word after. After. After is a time word. Now and then. Not now, afterwards, after death. So it's a time word. When will you find that ultimate reality? You have to wait in time. You have to travel in time till then, not now. But Vedanta says it's whatever is there. Surely you'll find God in heaven. Surely you will find God after death. Surely. But also here and now. The ultimate reality is available to us here and now. Not only that, the dramatic and devastating is the Vedantic claim. What you're looking for is you. It's not something other. It's not an other. It's not something apart from you. So it's here, it's now, and it is I. Now the question might be right here. You might say, that sounds cool, very interesting. But the problem is, if that's so, why don't I experience it? Why don't I have it? It's all very good to say it's here, it's now. Here where? I don't see anything. Now when? And you're saying I, but it's not me. I'm whatever I am, I'm not God. So what Vedanta is saying, it immediately leads to this question: show me. If you're making such a big claim, show me. If I have like a devotional, faith-based approach to spirituality, I'm safe. You're talking about, you might say, you're talking about God. Well, where is this God of yours? I can say, I'm safe if I can say it's not here, it's in heaven. You have to go to heaven. Then I'm safe. When do I see this God of yours? After death, you can't see now. Then I'm safe because after death, you can't catch me also, even if you don't see. But if I say it's here, it's now, in that case, you can legitimately challenge. Show me. What do you mean? What are you talking about? So here Vedanta says, since it is you, Vedanta says we have to inquire into ourselves. What do you mean by inquire into ourselves? Inquire into our experience of ourselves. What am I? Something that we don't do. We have to turn our attention inwards into our own experience. Uh, an examination of what's available already here. I'll just tell you two stories, and that's it. And then we will get into question answers. The entire teaching will be in those two stories. First story is something that Sri Ramakrishna loved. It's a story of the washerman and his diamond. So the washerman, a traditional Indian washerman, who takes the laundry to the side of the riverbed and then scrubs it dry and then folds it and returns it to you, cleans it and returns it to you. The dhobi, the traditional Indian washerman. So this dhobi, he found a diamond. He didn't know it's a diamond. He thought it's a strange rock, and he used it to scrub dirty laundry. And then, and then, no, before I go on, somebody has told me a recent story. A Filipino fisherman. He had found a big. Has anybody heard the story? You have heard the story? Found a big pearl. He didn't know what it was, and he kept it under his bed. And he and the members of his family would always go and touch it before going out to the sea because they thought it would bring them good luck to catch fish. Finally, when they valued it, it was valued at more than $100 million. And so they didn't know what it was. Similarly, this washerman didn't know what the diamond was, and he used it to scrub laundry. It was useful, nice rock. That was strange, but it's useful to scrub laundry. But he was curious, so he took it to his friend, the vegetable seller, and asked him, "What do you think this is?" The vegetable seller was a little more learned than the poor washerman. Said, "This is a peculiar rock. It's fancy. I'll give you 10 rupees for it." How many cents? 0.125? You're a mathematician or an economist. So, $0.125, yes. Uh, Luckily, he didn't sell it. He waited. And he went to ask different people. Finally, one day he goes and asks the diamond merchant, who says, "This is the most magnificent stone diamond I have ever seen. I'll give you 10 million rupees for it." And so he sold it, and all his problems, his poverty, everything was at an end. He was happy. He had all his problems were solved forever. Now, that's the story. Notice that the washerman always had the diamond. And what we are going to talk about, you will notice by the end of this discussion, you'll notice, yeah, we have it actually. And the washerman was using it. But what was he using it for? He was using it for scrubbing dirty laundry. And we are using it. This diamond which we have, we are using it. What are we using it for? We're using it to see and hear and smell and taste and touch and think and enjoy and suffer and fight and uh, you know waking, dreaming, sleeping, all of this. I'm talking about consciousness or awareness. We're using it for that. We don't know its real potential, what it really is. And the washerman, when he finally found out, the diamond merchant introduced him to it, the real value of what he already has, and you have to cash it in. And then all his problems were solved. So this is the story. Vedanta says our real nature, which is already there. You cannot improve upon it. You don't have to add anything to it. You don't have to subtract anything from it. We just have to know it ourselves as we truly are. How do we do that? And that brings us to the second story. Second story, I'll tell you the story, then we will go through a process of a sample of this inquiry I've talked about, and then we will take up questions. The second story is the famous story of the 10th man. Um, It's a well-known story, and I'm going to use it the way one of the great post-Shankara non-dual masters in India, um, Vidyaranya Swami, who lived in the south of India, in the area in Karnataka and Andhra today. So the big kingdom, the Vijayanagar kingdom in the medieval India. So he was a great master of non-dual Vedanta. And he uses this story in his famous text, the Panchadashi. In one chapter is entirely based on this story. And he divides the entire spiritual life in the way of knowledge into 7 stages based on this story. And so the story goes like this. 10 friends set out on a journey, and on their journey they cross a river. After crossing the rivers, one of them thinks, did we all cross or did somebody drown? And let's just count. And one of them counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my God, the 10th person is not there. And the 10th person is drowned. The other person counts. Let me count. And each of them counts and they find 9 people. The 10th person is not there. They sit down and start crying. And a person walks past them. Yeah, their story always is amusing. The person walks past them and says, "Why are you crying, my friends?" One of them says, "Sir, we were 10 friends and it's a tragedy. The 10th man is drowned." How do you know? He must have counted and seen 10. How do you know? How do you know? Epistemological question. So they say, "We counted." Oh, show me. So first he says, "Don't worry, don't cry. The 10th person is there." So this is what we learn from teachers and books. We get this knowledge. There is an ultimate reality. There is an answer to this human condition. How do we overcome suffering? How do we attain fulfillment? There is, it's possible. It's an indirect teaching. It's theoretical. And these people say, all right, but how? Where is this 10th man? He's there. I'll show you. Well, show us, show us. Well, you count. We did count, sir. We count again. Humor me. One of them started counting. If you say so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I told you. And this man comes and grabs the counter's hand and turns it around and says, "Thou art the 10th. You are the 10th. 10." This man goes, "Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I found the 10th man." And the others say, "Let me try, let me try." They all try. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, we have found the 10th man. We are so happy. Now, this story, um, 7 stages of spiritual life, according to Vidyaranya. The first stage, and this is 7 stages in the path of non-duality, in the path of knowledge in Advaita Vedanta. This will not work in the other paths. 7 stages. First stage is one of ignorance. Somehow the person doesn't know that I am the 10th man. So ignorance starts with ignorance. In Sanskrit, avidya, ignorance. And that ignorance leads to error. Error. What's the error? 10th man must have drowned because we crossed the river. The 10th man must have drowned. No evidence for this. It all comes from the error that the 10th man is missing. So I suppose the 10th man is drowned. So error. And Vidyaranya says exactly like that. Um, all right, let me give you the 7 stages. I'll work it back for the path of non-duality. So the error is the 10th man is drowned. And then from error comes sorrow, affliction, dukkha. Oh, our friend is drowned. How terrible. What a tragedy. And we are so unhappy. Then comes on the next stage when the teacher comes and says, the 10th person is there. Don't worry. This is called paroksha jnana, or indirect knowledge. What one might say, theoretical knowledge. Okay, I read it. I heard it in a lecture. I read it in the book. I read it in our scriptures. But I don't know it for myself. So paroksha jnana, technically it means indirect knowledge. And then finally, through the process of inquiry, 1, 2, 3 for counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, direct knowledge. Oh, I am the 10th. The 10th man is here. I am the 10th. And therefore, that's called aparoksha jnana, direct knowledge. Technically, if you translate it literally, it means non-indirect knowledge, direct knowledge. Aparoksha jnana. And then the sixth stage is dukkha nivritti. The sorrow goes away. Sorrow goes away. And the seventh one, simultaneously, both of them come, sixth and seventh, is ananda prapti, attainment of happiness. Oh, we are so happy, wonderful. We have got our dear friend, the 10th man back. Now, this is exactly what happens to us in spiritual life, in this process of the way of knowledge. First of all, we have the ignorance of our real nature. The claim is we don't know who we are. We are deeply, deeply mistaken about who we are. And then comes the error. The error is not knowing our nature as limitless awareness. We see the first thing that's presented to us is this body mind. And we make the error of thinking, I am this body mind. And we don't think it's an error. We think it's a fact. I am this. Once I feel I am this, then my samsara starts for me. Here there are other people. These are mine. Those are not mine. These are my enemies and my friends, and these I'm indifferent to. These are the things that I need in this life. And all those needs come from my body mind nature. The moment I am a body, I am subject to hunger and thirst. I'm subject to need for shelter. I'm subject to fear of disease and old age and death. I am in the Vedanta Society of New York. I walk down Broadway, and what I see mostly, what Manhattan is famous for, they say it's a foodie's place. All right, food, 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 and then clothes, fashion, 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 and then entertainment, Broadway, theater, and you see, all of these are our needs manifested in all these things. Nobody needs all that much food. Nobody needs all those clothes. Nobody needs that much entertainment. But desires keep on multiplying based on this body identity. And none of that is particularly fulfilling. If it was, people would be fulfilled. You would go see blissed out. You do see blissed out people, but that's also temporary. That is chemically induced bliss. Now, so all of this, the problem, the struggle starts with this limited identity. I'm subject to old age, subject to disease, subject to death. I live this miserable life. Who was that American playwright who said most men live lives of quiet desperation? So we live these lives of quiet desperation. And according to Vedanta, in fact, all the Indian systems, Buddhism, Jainism, all schools of Hinduism, um, not just one life of quiet desperation, many, many lives of quiet desperation. We die and that's not the end. It's not even good news. We come back and repeat this again and again and again until we learn, until we develop spiritually and finally attain the liberating knowledge, which, by the way, already happens to be ourselves. It's just us, our real nature. That's the amazing thing. Um, all right. Come on in. You're just in time for the main event. Come here. There's some seat. There's, raise your hand if you have a chair near you. Oh, there's one there, right? Yeah. All right. So we're just about to start self-inquiry. What are we going to do now? An actual experience of self-inquiry. Don't expect to be enlightened at the end of it. If you're that quick, then there will be lots and lots of enlightened beings going around everywhere. But at least you get a taste of what we're talking about here. We'll basically do what that man did. The counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we will count our experience of ourselves. We will notice it and label it and then go deeper and deeper. Uh, what are we going to do? Those who have studied Vedanta, you know it as Pancha Kosha Vichara, an investigation into the 5 sheets or 5 layers of the human personality. All of these are entirely available to us right now. Nothing new. Remember, it's not the mystical path where you have to have special mystical experiences. Whatever I'm going to talk about is available to each of us right now. All that you have to do is listen to what I'm saying, notice it in your own experience, and keep track. Go step by step. Let's walk in this journey together. Where is this journey going? We'll start with ourselves, and I will point out deeper and deeper dimensions, deeper in the sense of deeper in your experience, not physically deeper. If you go physically deeper into the body, you'll find more body. You'll find organs and all the wet and gooey stuff inside. All right, let's see. And then hopefully we'll discover this amazing thing Vedanta is talking about, that you are the witness consciousness, your limitless awareness, all these things. Start with the body. Now, what are we going to inquire? Ourselves. Why are we going to inquire into ourselves? Because the claim is we do not know a very important fact about ourselves, and we can discover it through this process of inquiry. Now, when you ask, who are you or what are you? Our first answer is instinctively, I am this. The body? Well, yes. All right, let's start with the body. Let's draw our attention to the body. I'm going to do this twice. First, lay out the approach, and then actually quickly try to practice it ourselves. When we look at the body, we are invited to see that the body, the body changes from birth to babyhood to childhood to teenage to youth, middle age, old age, and so on till death. The body changes tremendously so over a lifetime. So I always have the intuitive feeling I am the same one. I am the same self, same person. Common sense tells me I'm the same one who was that baby, who was that little boy, the young person, middle-aged person. I am the same one. Not only common sense, law tells me. You can't say that the baby was somebody else and I'm somebody else by law. No, you're the same person by law. Memory tells me I'm the same person. Memory, by the way, memory is not the reason why we are the same person. Memory is a very weak thing. It just patches here and there. So I am the same person. Body has changed dramatically. The changing and the unchanging cannot be the same thing, literally. What kind of an argument is this? It's not a mathematical argument. It's not a proof. It's more like a legal argument. It's trying to get us to see something. A battery of arguments trying to convince us. So the changing and unchanging cannot be the same thing. I have an intuitive feeling I am the unchanged self. The body has changed so much. Therefore, I and the body literally cannot be the same thing. I mean, if a little kid is running around and you catch hold of the kid, either the kid will stop or you'll be dragged along. Similarly, if something is changing and you say, I am that, then you are all changing continuously. You can't then claim, I am unchanging. If you think you are unchanging, then you cannot be the changing thing. Another argument, a more powerful argument, is subject and object, seer and seen. I am aware of the body. I am the knower of the body. Just as I'm the knower of this table, the seer and the seen cannot be the same thing. The subject and the object cannot be the same thing. Literally, the eyes cannot see something unless they are at a distance from the eyes. Eyes cannot see themselves. Even if you see a picture of yourself or a reflection of yourself, it's a reflection. It's a picture. It's not the eyes seeing themselves directly. So the seer and the seen, the knower and the known, the subject and the object are different. In philosophy, they call it that self-reflexivity. It's not allowed. A thing cannot operate on itself. A knife cannot cut itself, for example. Similarly, the body does not know itself. You know the body. If you know the body, then you are the knower of the body, the seer. In fact, all our senses operate on the body. I can see the body. I can touch the body. If the tummy rumbles, I can hear the body. I can smell the body. The body is objectified by all our senses. Body is an object of which I am the knower. The knower and the known cannot be the same. Therefore, I am not the body. Another argument, a third argument. There are many. I can give you 8 or 9 arguments, but I'll give you only 3. And we'll keep using these 3. They're like a knife with which we'll cut. Third argument is, I am aware. Whatever I am conscious. I'm aware. And I'm aware of the body. The body is not aware. There's a psychologist, Greg Good. He uses this technique. He says, look at your hand. Now notice. You have to notice your own experience. Notice in your own experience that are you aware of the hand or is the hand aware of you? You will notice I am aware of the hand right now. Take a look. I am aware of the hand. Do you feel that the hand is aware of you? Does it say, hello, Swami, long time no see? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You might say, so do that to the other hand. Is anybody a philosophy student? Are you aware of G. Moore's refutation of idealism? He wrote this paper, refute idealism. He says, this is how I refute idealism. Here is one hand, here is another, and therefore idealism is refuted. He's thinking this is like that kind of argument. See, these two hands, These are objects. I am aware of them. They are not aware of me. And that's true by extension of the entire body. I am aware of the body. The body is not aware of Sarvapriyananda. I, the conscious sentient being, am aware of the body. The body is not aware of me. I am conscious. The body is not conscious. I'm aware. The body is not aware. It's an interesting way of putting it. It's a phenomenological way. Those who have studied philosophy or psychology, you see, this is a phenomenological way of arguing from your own experience. You are aware of the body. The body is not aware of you by your own experience. And therefore, the aware and the not aware, the sentient and the insentient, the conscious and the not conscious, they cannot be literally the same thing. Therefore, I'm not literally the body. Summing up three arguments: changing, unchanging cannot be the same thing. Therefore, I, the unchanging self, whatever I am, I cannot be the body. Subject and object, knower and the known, seer and the seen, they cannot be the same thing. I, the experiencer of the body, cannot be the experienced body. Aware and not aware, sentient and insentient, cannot be the same thing. I am aware, the body is not. Therefore, I am not the body. Literally not the body. The body is there. I am somehow implicated in the body, very closely connected with it. But the self is not literally the body. Those who want the Sanskrit terms for these arguments, Savikara, Nirvikara, first one. Second one is Drashta and Drishya. Third one is Chit Jada. Chit Jada. These are the three Sanskrit terms. Sanskrit is very powerful when it comes to philosophy. The words are so compact, you can use half a phrase and express a tremendous amount of meaning. All right. So I say, all right, I don't mean I am the body, I might say. What I meant was, I'm not the body, but I'm here in this body. I'm an embodied conscious being. I'm here in this body. That's what I meant. So you mean, Vedanta goes step by step. It says, all right, subtler than the body, look inwards. You say you are in there? Yes, I'm in here. Subtler than the body, close to the body, but a little more subtle. Vedanta will say, you notice the prana, the breath. Not literally the breath. Prana is all the physiological energies flowing through the body. Breath is just the tip of the iceberg, but the breath is the most noticeable. So notice the breath. Are you the breath? Are you the prana? Same arguments will apply. Apply the same arguments, changing, unchanging, prana. When you are breathing in, you are the same person. You're breathing out, you're the same person. Prana is going in and out. Therefore, you are not the prana, changing and unchanging. Second argument, observed and observer. Can you observe the prana? You better say yes. The entire mindfulness industry depends on that. You're breathing out, you're aware. You're breathing in, you're aware. Huh? So I'm aware. Vedanta takes that much of it. You're aware of the in breath. You're aware of the out breath. Therefore, you are the knower of the breath. You cannot be literally the breath. Then the third one, conscious, not conscious. I am conscious of the breath. The breath is not conscious of me. When you breathe in, the in breath doesn't say, Swami, I'm coming into your lungs now. Joking. But what I mean is, when you notice the breath, you notice that not only that I am the knower of the breath is something known, but I am conscious and the breath is not conscious. It's a biomechanical action, pumping air in and out of the lungs. Therefore, I'm not the breath. You might say, what's going on here? What are we trying to do? What we are trying to do is turning, inwardizing our attention. We started world, let it take care of itself, but start with the body, because that's where the confusion starts. And we say, I'm not the body. Then inwardize the attention further in your experience, something more subtle, in breath and the out breath, and say, I am not that. Then look inwards, further inwards in your own experience, phenomenological. What do you find? Thoughts, ideas, memories, feelings. This is called the mind. The mind. Sanskrit manas or manomaya. Notice the mind keeps on changing. Mind keeps on changing. Of course it does. The mind is the most changeable thing we have. We have thousands of thoughts and emotions and ideas throughout the day. And you are the same one. You had a pleasant feeling, you're the same one. You were excited, you're the same one. Now you feel bored, you're hopefully not, but you're the same one. I am the same one who is the witness of the ever-changing mind. If I am the same one, if I am unchanged, then I cannot be the changing mind. Changing, unchanging. Therefore, I cannot be the mind. Go further. You are the observer of the thoughts. You are the seer of the thoughts and feelings. I am the witness of these thoughts coming and going. I'm the witness of these feelings appearing and disappearing. The knower and the known cannot be the same thing. The seer and the seen cannot be the same thing. Therefore, this is very subtle, because what we always identify ourselves with is the mind. Most people, most grown up, educated, thinking people think of themselves as embodied mind. That's what we mean by a person, basically. But here we are making a distinction between yourself and the mind. Everything in the mind is observed. Therefore, it's an object. You are the knower of that object, experiencer of that object. You cannot literally be the mind. Further, here is something very interesting. Conscious, not conscious. Vedanta makes a startling claim. This is where Vedanta parts ways with even the most modern philosophy of mind. In modern philosophy of mind, the mind and consciousness are taken to be more or less the same. In consciousness studies today, if you ask, what are you studying? Give examples. They will give examples like thinking, memory, pain, all kinds of. But Vedanta will say these are conscious experiences. You are combining consciousness and mind already here. Vedanta will make a distinction between mind and consciousness. What allows you to make the distinction between mind and consciousness? Is fact that you can experience your own thoughts. You can experience your own feelings. Whatever you experience is an object. You are the subject. Whatever you experience is the known. You are the knower. Whatever you experience is the seen. We are the seer of these. What comes up. Therefore, notice that I am conscious of the thoughts. The thoughts are not conscious of me. I mean, it's a very simple experiment. Think of a thought. ABCD. I give this example. ABCD or 1, 2, 3, 4. Just think of a thought 1, 2, 3, 4 right now. And notice that 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it conscious of you, or is it conscious of me, or am I conscious of it? But straight away, we'll immediately say, I am conscious of it. 1, 2, 3, 4 is just like mental chatter. I'm aware of it. And all thoughts and feelings are like that. They seem to be conscious because of your presence. You mix up consciousness and the thought. In Vedanta, it's called a vritti, movement of the mind, that is illumined by you, the consciousness. And that's why it seems to be conscious. It's like the moon being a luminous body, but it's not. It's borrowed light from the sun. So even the mind is not conscious. According to Vedanta, the mind is not conscious technically. Though practically it is conscious. But technically it's not conscious because it borrows consciousness from me, the one who is aware of the mind. So I am not the mind. Go deeper into your own experience. Vedanta makes a distinction between mind and intellect. Buddhi, mind and intellect. The intellect is that which is processing all this. That intellect, which we are using now to understand all this, that intellect, am I that intellect? But that also changes from not understanding to understanding, from understanding to a fuller understanding. It also changes. It's also something that is known. We feel I'm trying to solve a mathematical problem, not getting it. Suddenly we get the eureka feeling. I got it. We feel the movement of the intellect. The intellect is also something that is an object, and you are the subject. It's something that is seen, you are the seer. The intellect is also something that is not conscious. You are conscious. We are aware of the movements of the intellect. Intellect by itself is not aware. This is where we talk about, right now it's all very interesting because of, in philosophy, there's something called the hard problem of consciousness. David Chalmers speaks about it, the irreducibility of consciousness to the brain. And also in the age of AI, artificial intelligence, very interesting. Intelligence is what is called buddhi, intellect. And this is right now we are distinguishing consciousness from intelligence. I am conscious of the intelligence here. One question I often put to distinguish intelligence from consciousness. Notice that the new AI and whatever is going to come in the near future, whatever claims they make about it, none of them are saying that these machines or these chat GPT and all, they're conscious. None of them are claiming. They are able to do everything that we are capable of doing. And what we earlier thought is only available to human beings, now these machines are able to do. We thought earlier, yes, calculator can calculate, computer can play chess, good. But the things which only we can do, like creativity, We can write short stories. We can compose music. We can make art. No longer, no longer. Computers are already doing it. I went into the museum at Manhattan, the Museum of Modern Art. And when you enter it, there's a huge computer display, an installation, and wonderful display of art. And you get hypnotized when you go in there. I stood there for a couple of minutes and you look what's written there. It's an AI which has been fed the entire contents of the Museum of Modern Art. And it's been asked to generate this kind of art, this genre of art. And it's doing it on a continuous basis. Whatever all those artists over the period of nearly 100 years have done, this computer, minute to minute, is generating more and more and more and more. And you might say it's not art, it's trash. But no, if you see the effect on people, it's hypnotic. People watch. I also stood and watched for some time. So computer is doing all of that: creativity, intelligence, memory, decision making. And look at a self-driven car. Except one thing. Except one thing: consciousness. Why not? Why not? I asked this question throughout this challenge to cognitive scientists and AI people and computer experts. Why not? Because this decision making, creativity, these are complex things. If you are able to model these very complex things, consciousness by itself, you think about it, it's not complex. It does only one thing. It gives us first person experience. In Sanskrit, anubhava, direct experience. It just generates experience, the ability to have first person experience. That's all it does. Why can't you model it? But no, nobody can. They're not even, it's an intractable problem. If you ask AI people, and there will be faculty here also, if you ask them, do you know how to do it? Most will say, we have no idea where to begin. All the other things we are modeling nicely, but this is, we don't know what it is actually. So we are conscious of the intellect. Intellect is not conscious of us. We are conscious of the AI. The AI is not conscious of us. Even when it says, I ask the AI, can you see me? It says yes. How? I'm using your computer video to watch you. Didn't say that, but it can. But even then, it's not experiencing you. It's an algorithm working. All right. And beyond this, Vedanta says, if you shut it all out, suppose no external world, no experience of the body, you're not seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting anything, you're not thinking, you're not remembering, not desiring, not trying to understand, shut it all down like deep sleep, that blankness. That also is something that you are aware of. Aware of in the sense it's an experience. I always say the blankness of deep sleep, anesthesia, coma, possibly, would be, it's not an absence of experience, it's an experience of absence. That's how Vedanta sees it. Therefore, experience is continuing. That which experiences all of them and yet is distinct from all of them is awareness itself, consciousness itself, the essence of ourself, what you or I truly am. That is the Atman. All right. So this is the entire teaching. Yeah, still within time. All right. Only one thing remains now. I'm going to do what that passerby said to the person who was counting. Count again. Humor me. We will count. What's the connection? Now follow this carefully. What's the connection of that counting story with what I just said till now? It's this. The 10th person was apart from all that the 10th person counted. Now we, according to Vedanta, we are apart from everything that is body, prana, mind, intellect, even blank it all out, the blankness also, all those are apart, like those 9%. And that to which all of these are appearing is I. That's the Atman. That's consciousness. That's the real nature of consciousness. Experiential in our experience right now. It's always there. Now let me ask you this crucial question. Two questions. Why did that person not find the 10th person? Why did he not find the 10th person? What would be your first pass at this? Yes, he separated himself. He didn't count himself. He didn't count himself. Right. That's good. That's the first clear answer. We have to count ourselves. We have to turn our attention to ourselves, not to those objects. Second, more subtle question. Why did he not count himself? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why didn't he do this? Where was he looking for the 10th person? Separate from himself, outside. And why was he looking for the 10th person outside? Crucial. You will see that how it applies to the self-inquiry. Why was he looking for the 10th person outside? Because he had already found the 9 people outside. He had a reasonable expectation. I found 9 out there. The 10th also must be out there. It's a great indictment of our modern consciousness studies. The reason why we are finding consciousness so intractable. This is a debate going on in the philosophy of mind departments. I've attended seminars in NYU, which probably has one of the best philosophy of mind departments in the world. This is a debate which is going on. Our entire way of doing science is predicated on what we are studying is an object. And that has worked so well till now, because what we have been studying are objects. But when you're trying to study the subject itself and trying to make it an object, problems arise. Problems arise. Just consider the ridiculousness of it. Consciousness studies. What are you doing? We are trying to study consciousness in the octopus. Why? It was very fascinating. What's wrong with that? You are a conscious being. I am a conscious being. You are a conscious being right now. Study the consciousness in yourself, but you can't. They'll give you a very good answer why you can't. Because I am the subject. How can I study myself? I need an object. Well, what you will find in the octopus is the octopus, its tentacles, its distributed brain. You will not find consciousness like that. But you yourself are conscious, but you are going to ignore that because you want an object. It's like that 10th person. Looking for the 10th person as an object. Never find it. Never find. What are we going to do then? Here's what you do. I will point out as we go, I'll point out the levels of our being. Physical level, notice it. Then remember the 3 arguments, changing, unchanging, seer and the seen, and I am conscious of it. It is not conscious. So I am distinct from it. Then we will look at the next one, which is prana, the breath, all going deeper. Then we'll look at the next one, mind and feelings, thoughts and feelings. We look at the next one, the intellect. Then look at the next one, shut everything down. And then turn from there. Remember, you are the 10th. Turn from the absolute blankness into the witness of that blankness. That you have to do yourself. Up to the last one, this is called Panchakosha Viveka, the 5 layers of the human personality. In Sanskrit, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Annamaya, the physical sheet, Pranamaya, the vital sheet, Manomaya, the mental sheet, Vijnanamaya, the intellect, and Anandamaya, the blankness, the bliss sheet, something like our deep sea. And we have to turn inwards from all of that to see which is observing those 5. It's exactly like that 10th man. Most people stop there at the Anandamaya, blankness. One person, I'll give you an example, who used to meditate deeply. He told me of his experiences in India. And the deepest possible meditation he had once, very profound, quiet stillness, which felt very profound to him. It's like a very life-changing, nourishing spiritual experience. But that's it. It went away and did not come back again, and just tried to replicate it. Now he says, but what happened? And what's the point of it all? And then I said, that deep quietness was a wonderful experience for you, and you have a memory of it. Try to recreate it, see what it felt like to be absolutely still, absolutely serene, peaceful, yet completely awake. And from that turn inwards, that inwards turn, you are the 10th. That I can't do for you. Notice, even that deep silence, absolute blank, even not you're thinking about anything, that's also an experience. Anything that comes and goes is an experience. So then the question arises, who or what is experiencing that? What is the witness of that absolute silence? Okay, enough. Now we'll just do a quick trial and then just experiential, get a feel for it. When those few become enlightened, congratulations. Rest of us have to keep trying. All right, an actual practice of inquiry, self-inquiry. So when you're ready, sit straight, relax, don't be rigid. Throughout this process, if you feel like fidgeting, cuffing, if you can't resist it, no problem. Don't worry, don't fight anything. something that you can always repeat again. When you are ready, if you feel like it, you can gently close your eyes and keep listening to my voice. Become aware of the body, relax the body. Become aware of the body, the warmth, the pressure, feelings inside the body, the skin, temperature, pressure, general sense of the body. Let us recollect this body has changed so much in the babyhood days, in childhood, teenage, now middle age or old age. And I feel intuitively the same me and this body cannot be the literally the same thing. I am not the body, body is changing, I am unchanging. Also, I notice that I'm aware of the body. I can see the body, I can touch and feel the body, I can taste, smell, hear the body. The body is an object. I am that which knows the body, experiences the body. I am the seer of the body. Seer and the seen cannot be the same thing. Therefore, I am not the body. Experiential. This is an object. It's a thing. It's not me. Very useful thing, very intimate thing, always with me, but it's not me. And then I am aware. Consciousness is always on my side, not on whatever I am, I'm conscious. The body is not conscious of me or anything else. The body is not aware of itself. I am aware of it. Body is not aware of anything else. I am aware of everything else. And the body is certainly not aware of me, whatever I am. I am aware of myself. So I have awareness on my side. The body is not aware. Not aware, an object ever changing. I am not the body. Breathe in, breathe out deeply. This prana, which sustains this living body, which is always there, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, I am the same one. Breathing out, I am the same one. In breath and out breath, ever flowing. Prana, energy, weakness, health, sickness, hunger, thirst. These are all prana. In the ebb and flow of prana, I am the same. It keeps changing. I am the same. It is observed. I can observe the in breath and out breath. I am the observer, seer. It is seen. Therefore, I am not the prana. And I am conscious of it. In breath is not conscious, nor is the out breath conscious. I am conscious. Conscious, not conscious. Observer and observed. And changing and unchanging. Therefore, I am not the prana. Breathing normally, relaxed. Let us look inwards into our own experience phenomenologically. Thoughts floating by, mental chatter, feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. They are all changing. I am not changing. Therefore, I am not a feeling, not a thought. They come and go. I don't come and go. I'm there when the thoughts come, feelings come. I'm there when the thoughts are there, feelings are there. I'm there when the thoughts are gone, feelings are gone, new ones have come. Therefore, I am unchanging and these are changing. I am not thoughts and feelings. I am their observer. I can experience my thoughts. Certainly I experience my feelings. Therefore, they are objects. I am their experiencer, the subject. Subject and object are not same. Seer and seen are not same. Therefore, I am not thoughts and feelings. Finally, I am aware of these thoughts. Like A, B, C, D, a thought. I am aware of it. It is not aware of me. In fact, thoughts are not aware of other thoughts. Thoughts are not aware of the body. Thoughts are not aware of the world. I am aware of all these thoughts. I am aware of the body. Thoughts are not aware of themselves. I am aware of them. I am aware. Thoughts are not aware. I am conscious. Thoughts by themselves are not conscious. They seem to be conscious because they borrow consciousness from me, their proximity to me, the conscious being. I am not thoughts. I am not the mind. Further, relax, breathing normally. These understandings I have, the intellect, which tells me I am this human being, a man or a woman. This is my identity. These are the things which I know. The intellect, same, it changes. It changes from non comprehension to understanding, to confusion and further understanding. I am the one who was confused. I am the one who understands. I'm the same one. I did not change. I am aware of the intellect. It is seen, I am the seer, therefore I am not the intellect. I am aware, and I am conscious, the intellect is not conscious. Being unchanging, seer of the intellect and conscious of the intellect being ever changing, and the seen object not conscious, I cannot be the intellect. Relaxed, breathing normally. Now visualize that the world is gone. I do not see anything, hear anything, smell, taste, touch anything. Like in deep sleep, I am not aware of my own body. Mind also shuts down. No thoughts, no feelings, no memories. I have no memory of my own existence. Who am I? No understanding, Vedanta, knowledge, philosophy, science, nothing. Just blank, deep sleep. That I am in deep sleep, I am sleeping, that also is gone. No sense of ego, self. In that absolute unknowing, deep, profound silence. Who or what is experiencing that silence? Is it not the same one which experiences the intellect and the mind and the senses and the body and the world? Who am I? When you come to the deep silence, like deep sleep, drop that also. Do not try to objectify the witness consciousness. You can never do it. Just note, because of it, deep sleep is observed, the intellect is observed, the mind is observed, all feelings, emotions, the breath is observed, the body is experienced, and the world is experienced. Eye shining, all of these five shine. By my light, all this is lit up. Sitting relaxed, breathing normally. You're ready and gently open your eyes. Look down first. Look down first, and then you can look up. Notice a few things. Even if you're not entirely enlightened, I am the witness consciousness. That's what we're trying to drive at. Notice one thing. You know, it's always there, this witness consciousness. What we are trying to do in this exercise is to phenomenologically, in our own experience, isolate it from all other experiences. Just let it be by itself. But even if you don't isolate, just in day-to-day experiencing, walking, talking, enjoying, suffering, it's always there. It's the washerman's diamond. It's like this. When we are seeing now, if I ask you, are you there? Yes. And you're seeing the world. Yes. Close your eyes. Are you seeing the world? No. But are you still there? Yeah, I'm there. I just don't see, but I'm here. You extend that thought experiment. Suppose I don't see, I don't hear, smell, taste, touch. Are you still there? Yes. Go further. Suppose I don't think, I don't remember anything, I don't have any ideas, I don't even have a sense of ego. Are you still there? Claim is yes, you will still be there. That unchanging awareness, it's not a thought, it's the illuminer of all thoughts. It's effortless. It doesn't have to be maintained by a lot of Vedantic reasoning. Without the least bit of Vedanta, without the least bit of meditation, you and I and everybody else is that all the time. But we are like the washerman, using it to scrub clothes. We are using it for our life, unsatisfactory life. But it has the potential, if you cash it in, it will solve all your problems. How will it solve all our problems? I claim I will not, I don't have time to go into that now, but we'll be shown by Vedanta that consciousness is immortal. It cannot be born, it does not die. There, in fact, the modern discussions on the irreducibility of consciousness to the brain. The brain will die. With the death of the body, the brain will die. But the claim is that consciousness does not die. Because consciousness produced by brain, that's a big question now. Can you reduce the consciousness to the brain? The big question. I'll give you the Vedantic claim, very, very radical. I'll give it to you in 5 negations, and I'll stop. What are we trying to do? This consciousness which we are trying to discover in its real nature, what is it? I will try to say in 5 negations. Then I will tell you the benefit of it and stuff. What Vedanta claims is consciousness is not number 1. 5 no's. Number 1, consciousness is not brain. Not brain. Number 2, consciousness is not mind. Very interesting. Consciousness is not the mind, which we also saw now. Number 3, consciousness is not many. Not that there are many. There are many bodies here and many persons here. But the claim in Vedanta is that the consciousness is not many. It's one consciousness in all bodies and minds. So consciousness is one, not many. Number 4, consciousness is not an object. Everything else is an object to consciousness, but consciousness by itself is not an object. And number 5, consciousness is non-dual. There is nothing other than consciousness. These are all huge steps. Those who have done philosophy will know at each level we are doing a lot of heavy lifting. A lot of arguments can be there. When you say consciousness is not brain, you're talking about the hard problem of consciousness, the irreducibility of consciousness. There are few thinkers right now like David Chalmers, Bernardo Castro, Donald Hoffman, a few others, philosophers, scientists, who might agree with this point of view. Even the latest theory of consciousness, this integrated information theory, Tonini, I think, there are also things about consciousness as a ubiquitous reality, not something generated by the brain. So anyway, that's the big issue now in consciousness study. Can consciousness be explained by brain activity? There's a close correlation, but is correlation causation? So that's the debate right now. But Vedanta goes further. Consciousness is not mind. Right now in consciousness studies, mind and consciousness studied together as consciousness studies. Consciousness is not mind. Number 3, consciousness is not many. The big claim. This is where it differs from Sankhya philosophy. It says there are many Purushas, many consciousnesses, but Vedanta says one consciousness. Further, consciousness is not an object. So it's subjective, something fictional. No, it is not an object. In fact, in Vedanta, objects are fictional. Consciousness is the reality. And the last one, because objects are fictional, not a second reality apart from consciousness, therefore, consciousness is non-dual. What good is it? I just give you the conclusions, no time to work it out. If you cash it in, if you sell the diamond to the diamond merchant, you will see that this consciousness is immortal. You are not born with the birth of the body. You do not die with the death of the body. Consciousness not being mind is not subject to frustration, unhappiness, negativity, lack of fulfillment. No. Consciousness is limitless. There is no second to consciousness. Therefore, entirety of the universe will be experienced as one with you. Therefore, there is no other to you. It is ever fulfilled in that sense. You really do not, that error, I am this body and mind, and therefore, like the 10th man is dead, the whole series of errors starts. This whole thing is solved at that problem, at that point. So therefore, after with that, you still live as this person in this body and mind, but now you know you are not this body and mind. You are not afraid of anything, nor are you unfulfilled. Therefore, you live as this fearless, ever fulfilled person. Your life is a blessing, and you can really be a blessing to others also. That's called the life of a living free or Jivan Mukti. Okay, that's a sweeping view of the way of knowledge. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can we do a short Q&A? How do we do this? You pass the mic. If you have questions, observations, come back here. Tell us your name and ask it. Make it brief.
My name is Tirunarayanan. I have a question. You talked about three paths.
Yes.
I've heard of karma marga. How does that relate to these three paths?
Three approaches which are well known. Devotional approach, everybody knows because most religions, theistic religions of the world have a devotional faith-based approach. Yogic approach, well known. But a karma approach, that was what is called karma yoga. Two observations here. Traditionally, if you look at the way of knowledge, Advaita Vedanta, in fact, all the Vedanta schools, whether devotional or the way of knowledge, Advaita Vedanta, they would always give a subservient role to karma. Karma done selflessly, ethical karma done selflessly, purifies the mind and makes you ready. In Advaita Vedanta, it makes you ready for knowledge, this enlightenment. It's a pure and steady mind which can hold on to this inquiry and get that breakthrough. The breakthrough is this, is exactly like that person who said, oh, I am the 10th. See, there's a difference between that man telling them the 10th person is there. Everybody said, all right, it's there, but how, where? And then the person, when he realized it, I am the 10th. That realization is a direct realization. Oh, you see, I am this limitless awareness. Till now, what did I think? I'm a body with mind and awareness. Now I think I'm awareness in which a mind and body are appearing and changing. So this breakthrough, it requires a mind to be purified and ready. The devotional schools will say, bhakti schools like Ramanuja and Madhva and others, they will say that the way of action, ethical, selfless action, purifies the mind for real love of God. So they always give a subservient role to karma. However, Vivekananda gave a prominent role to karma. Sister Nivedita, who in her introduction to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, she says, Vivekananda is the teacher of karma, the great teacher of karma action, not as divorced from knowledge or love, jnana or bhakti, but as expressing your knowledge and or love. So karma, it need not be something secondary, but you can express your enlightenment. The way you act in the world before enlightenment and after enlightenment. Karma yoga itself is Vivekananda regarded it as a powerful path to enlightenment. Originally, in the original text, you can find evidence for that. Gita, Krishna says, in ancient times, Janaka and others attained enlightenment. Karmana, by work alone, karmana eva, sansiddhim, perfection they attain. And the commentators quickly scramble to explain it away. Because Krishna is saying by karma, someone attained enlightenment. Shankara will say, yeah, eventually, karma will purify you and then you get in this knowledge and this knowledge will lead to enlightenment. Or Ramanuja will say, yeah, eventually, karma will purify you, then you attain devotion, devotion will lead you to knowledge. But karma, way of action in this world can also be a direct, powerful path to enlightenment. Swami Vivekananda said to one of his brother disciples, Swami Turiyananda, he said, brother, in this age, till now, people attain enlightenment through devotion, knowledge, spiritual practice, traditional spiritual practices. But also in this age, there will be, he mentioned specifically, young men and women will come who will work out their liberation through action, karma yoga. You have somebody here who wanted to ask a question? Yes. Just tell us your name and ask a question.
Hello.
Yes.
Hey, my name is William. Thank you for the talk. It was great. The question that I have is, if we're all Brahman, the vastness, and if does that mean Brahman sees us? And my second question is, if that's true, then doesn't that mean we aren't the same thing?
Does Brahman see us and we aren't the same thing? Yeah,
Right?
right. So what he's asking is an important insight, because when I argued that the seer and the seen are different, right? So I am experiencing something, then I'm different from it. I'm seeing this, so I am not this. I am different from it. And if I apply the same thing to the body, I am not the body. I'm different from it. I am not even the mind. I'm different from it. Now, this Brahman or Atman or pure consciousness, his question is, does it see us? Does it experience us? Or if I am that, am I experiencing myself? If I am experiencing myself, then I must be different from myself. Or Atman must be different, Brahman must be different from me. Seer and the seen are different, right?
Mhm.
And if Brahman is seeing us, then I must be different from Brahman. It's a question. If you understand the question, the answer will be very, very profound and interesting. Good question. And the answer is yes, Brahman experiences us. So we are different from Brahman? No. Yes. So here is this question. One might say, how is it non-duality? If you're saying the seer is different from the seen, then there's always duality. You might isolate yourself as pure consciousness by seer and seen method, but then that which is the seen, the world, the body, the mind, that also remains separate from you. How will you become this non-dual reality? How is non-duality real? Right. So this method of the seer and the seen, the three arguments I gave, changing and unchanging, seer and the seen, conscious and not conscious, these ones, all of them are called viveka, discrimination or discernment, separation. Why are we doing that? We are doing that to isolate what is pure consciousness of Brahman or Atman. Having done that, here's the answer to your question. Having done that, we must ask one more question now. It is true that the seer is separate from the seen. That is true. We'll hold on to that. But now I'm asking the question, is the seen separate from the seer? Subject is separate from the object, but is the object separate from the subject? So what kind of question is that? Let me illustrate. If I say the cloth is separate from the microphone, then clearly the microphone is also separate from the cloth. The two are separate from each other. A is separate from B, B is separate from A. However, let me show you this. The table and wood. Wood is separate from the table in the sense it was wood before it became a table. And it's a table now. And one day it will be broken, it still be pieces of wood. Wood continues. In that sense, wood is not necessarily a table. But this table is necessarily wood. You would say wood is separate from the table in order to understand what wood is. But right now you'll have to say the table is nothing other than the wood. When you touch it, you say touch wood. You don't say touch table. Every bit of it is the wood. A better example is our dreams. The mind, the entire dream world, and whatever happens in the dream is imagined and projected by the mind. Now, the mind, you, the dreamer, you are separate from your dream world. You existed before the dream, you exist during the dream, you'll be existing after the dream. But the dream and the persons in the dream and the events in the dream are nothing separate from you because you are appearing in those forms. Now, the answer to your question is, once you have done the seer and the seen, changing, unchanging, conscious, not conscious, and got a grasp on yourself as the non-objective consciousness, you must move on to that final negation, non-dual. We must ask, what is it? Now I am pure consciousness. All right. I experience. What do I experience? All of these objects. I experience the mind and thoughts and feelings. I experience the body. I experience the world. But the question is, what are the objects? What are they in relation to me? Are they a separate, independent reality interacting with me? That's dualism. That's the Sankhya philosophy. But Advaita says, whatever appears to you is nothing but you. You, that pure consciousness, you are appearing to yourself as your own object. And there are a lot of arguments to prove this. As I said, this is the last of the 5 negations, non-dual. And there's a lot of philosophy going on there in ancient arguments between Advaita and the dualistic schools. The dualistic schools insist, yes, consciousness is there, and there is a material order, and they interact. Just like Descartesian dualism, Advaita also will attack at that point of interaction. How do they interact if they're entirely different? They're entirely different, they cannot interact. Yet they appear to interact. Right now they're interacting. I am consciousness, here is a mind, here is a body, they seem to be interacting. In that case, they cannot be radically different. One must be in some sense reducible to the other. See, this is what science does. This is what materialism does. It says consciousness cannot be radically different from the body. It must be produced by the body. And therefore, they try to reduce consciousness to the brain, to matter. Whereas Advaita does the exact opposite. It reduces matter to consciousness. It says matter is an appearance in consciousness. I'll direct your attention to a very interesting article, half humorous article by Galen Strawson, who was a professor of philosophy at UT Austin. He wrote this article called The Hard Problem of Matter in New York Times. Hard problem of matter. He says, there is really no hard problem of consciousness. We have made up our minds that brain is producing consciousness, and then we can't explain how brain is producing consciousness, and therefore hard problem of consciousness. But he says, take a look at it from your own experience. We are all conscious, and matter, including brain, it comes to us in consciousness. So consciousness is not in doubt anywhere. What is the question is, what is matter? And he says physics explains or explores what is matter. Galen Strawson says matter is disappearing before our very eyes. It's gone down to particles, subatomic, subnuclear, now superstrings, who knows what. Materialism tries to reduce consciousness to matter. Advaita Vedanta does the opposite. It says matter is an appearance in consciousness. In fact, let me zoom out, give you the big picture. Just tantalizing. I will not explain, there's no time. This is a whole course in philosophy, Indian philosophy. What's Indian philosophy's view on this question? Consciousness and matter. 4, 5 views. One is the materialistic view. Consciousness is produced by matter. The ancient Indian materialist Charvakas, like our modern materialists, used to say that. Consciousness is produced by matter. This is an example which Indians will love. Pan. Pan. If you chew pan, in pan there is nothing red. But if you chew it, the Charvakas say, red color, your tongue becomes red color. It's a mixture of the elements in the pan which produces that red color in the pan. Similarly, a very sophisticated argument is the mixture and interaction of elements in the body which produces consciousness. Not our modern materialists have not gone one step beyond that in principle. That is the Charvaka materialist. The opposite view is consciousness is produced, matter is produced by consciousness. Who says that? Every theist religion says that. God creates this universe. So God must be a conscious God, not an unconscious God. So God creates the material universe. Then the third approach is dualism. Neither produces the other. Consciousness and matter are parallel realities interacting with each other. The ancient Sankhyans, Kapila, they said this. And they held on to a matter-consciousness duality. And so do their modern panpsychists. David Chalmers and others are proposing reviving panpsychism, that consciousness might be a ubiquitous reality in this universe, interacting with the material universe. Then there is as a sample, there are many theories. I'm just taking one theory from a very sophisticated and diverse Buddhist theory of consciousness, the emptiness theory. Neither consciousness produced matter, nor matter produced consciousness, nor are they parallel realities, nor do they interact. Both are empty. They both rise and fall together. Interdependence or the emptiness view. The Chandrakirti is the example of two bales of straw leaning against each other. You remove one, the other will fall. So they point out, notice this whole thing about consciousness and object, subject and object, seer and seen, consciousness and matter, they always come up together and disappear together. You have never experienced of consciousness by itself. You have never experienced of object by itself. You cannot. Literally, it means experience is defined as consciousness plus object. E is equal to C plus O. So they say both are empty terms. They appear and disappear together, whatever you make of that. Shunyavada, Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti. And then finally, the fifth view would be the Advaitic view, where it says matter is an appearance in consciousness. Basically, consciousness is something that gives us first-person experience. To have first-person experience, you need an object. If consciousness is the only reality that there is, then every object that appears in consciousness must be somehow consciousness itself. Then they have a whole theory of Maya. Anyway, long answer to, but what is a very good question.
My name is Santosh. I have a question. In spirituality, they talk about the body and Atma or the soul, right? So everybody say that soul is a part of a body, like it stays somewhere here in Fontenelle, and is conscious generates from the soul.
No. In Advaita, in Sankhya, there are different theories of this, but all of them will say Atman, the self, is consciousness, and it's not a part of the body. Body is also not part of consciousness. Body is an appearance in consciousness. There are other theories like the Sankhyan, the Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita theory, which they will say, no, body is real, and there is a soul which is the subtle body, which is separate from the body but interacts with the body, much like software and hardware. And consciousness is something separate from them that also interacts with them, and all three are real. They are like three interchangeable parts, which not interchangeable, three parts which interact with each other. That's not an Advaitic idea. That's a dualistic idea. There are multiple versions of.
Because someone dies, like they say
So what
that
happens at death is that physical body dies, the subtle body, which you can generically call soul, the English word soul, that goes on from one lifetime to another. It's like your data. If you lose your hardware, your laptop crashes, the data is still safe in the cloud. So the body crashes today, the subtle body is still safe in the cloud. And then it can be downloaded on the body, the whole idea of multiple births. But Advaita Vedanta says, quite apart from this is your nature as pure consciousness, which watches this entire movie.
which one carries the consciousness forward?
Consciousness is not carried forward, but if you say what carries the impressions, the samskaras, the individuality, the personality forward from lifetime to lifetime, that's the subtle body.
Because they say that the culture, for example, in our past birth, what culture we followed normally follows
Yes.
through that soul to the other body.
Right. So as I just answered, that's transmitted by the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira. It's like say a pot of water. The pot may be broken, then you transfer the water into a new pot. Then the water may contain certain, maybe it's a sugar water or something that will go into the new pot. They're carrying the same characteristics, but neither is consciousness. In this example, consciousness would be the one sun shining on all these pots of water. It's an example. Okay. How are we doing? We're out of time. Okay, there's a question there. At the end, yes. The gentleman here, you already asked. The gentleman here, and then we'll go to the very end. Young man there. Yes. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Just one question. Basically, when we are going from body to mind to intelligence, and finally in the Anandamaya Kosha, it turns inwards. What is it that turns inwards?
Subtle question. Nothing really. It's just the knowledge that I am not this Anandamaya Kosha. I am not this. Then it becomes clear to what are all these appearing. That is a very subtle point. You have to get it yourself. Shankaracharya explains this with a story in his Aitiriya Upanishad Bhashyam commentary. It's a subtle story. It's worth listening to. He says a man was very depressed because he had been scolded by his guru. His guru told him, "You're not a human being." Yelled at him, "Amanushyattvam, you're not a human being." He became very depressed. Somebody asked him, "Why are you moping? Why are you depressed?" My guru said, "I'm not a human being. Amanushya, I'm not a human being." So this man wanted to help him. He said, "So you're not a human being. Are you a stone?" He said, "No." "Are you a plant?" "I'm not." "Are you a fish?" "No." "Are you an animal?" "No." So all the non-human, he excluded. So you clearly see none of the amanushya, non-human you are. None of them. You agree? Yes. Then what are you? This man says, "Yeah, what am I?" At that point, if the man says, "What am I?" Shankaracharya comments there. Nobody can help him. Because, see, set theory. A and not A. human and non-human. He said, I am not human, I'm depressed. Now you have shown me that all the elements of the non-human, I am not. Therefore, the only thing that remains is the human. I must be human. I must say, oh, I am human, I get it. But at that point, if I don't get it, I say, then what am I? Shankaracharya says nobody can help him. Of course, in the example, someone can help him. Someone can say, oh, you are human. But in the case of pure consciousness, you cannot point out that pure consciousness. You have to grasp it yourself. That inward turning one has to do. One Swami pointed out beautifully. He said, look at this aquarium. Have you seen how fish swim in the aquarium? They swim like this on one. They'll go to one end, and then what do they do? That turning around, it's not a physical movement, of course, but it's a radical one thing one must not do at that point is what the usual tendency, that 10th man, always the tendency was trying to find the 10th man outside. You can never find it outside because it's not there. The great philosopher David Hume, he says, what is this self that people talk about? When I enter into myself most deeply, I'm quoting him now, when I enter into myself most deeply, I find perceptions, memories, judgments, but I do not find anything corresponding to the self. Why? Because we'll say, David, you are looking in the wrong place. The self is the one which is looking. You'll never find it there. One must not objectify at that point. That turning inwards does not mean trying to find something inward. It is just, oh, I being that. I am that to which this darkness is appearing. That even that I am that realization requires the intellect to formulate it. Right. That's as close as we can go without becoming enlightened.
Pranam Swamiji, my name is Anand. So question, you said if I am Brahman, then who is ignorant?
Big question. If you think about it seriously, you will come to this question in Vedanta. If you come to this question, it means you're thinking about it seriously. So Shankaracharya answers this question very nicely. Number of times in the commentaries, in Shankara's commentaries, it comes up. One way, he does it quite humorously, deftly and humorously. In the 13th chapter, I think, of the Bhagavad Gita, the commentary in the second verse, long commentaries there, somewhere there, I think, if I'm not wrong. The opponent asks, or the student asks the teacher, wait a minute. If I am Brahman, who was ignorant? Brahman can't be ignorant. Then who has ignorance? Because you started with ignorance, right? You started with ignorance. This is 7 stages of spiritual life. First stage is ignorance. Without this ignorance, none of this works. So who has ignorance? And Brahman can't have ignorance. Shankara's answer to that is very interesting. He says, why are you asking? This person says, because I don't know. So you have ignorance. But I am Brahman. If you know that, there's no problem. So this is the thing. Right now, when we are told all this, our first reaction is, oh, is this so? But I don't know it. So I'm admitting at all, if Vedanta is true, then I am quite ignorant of this truth about myself. Then inquire, then you will find it. When you find it, the interesting thing that will be is what Vivekananda calls the open secret. You will say, oh my God, it was always there. I never noticed it. And this is such a great thing. That's why the story of the washerman's diamond is so important. It will be exactly like that. It was always there. It's not even hidden. It's not even hidden. Shankaracharya says in Aparoksha Anubhuti, beautiful verse, like a clay pot. It's like this wooden table. Will you say that the wood is hidden here? Not at all. It's on the surface, it's on the middle, at the bottom. It's just wood through and through. But if someone doesn't understand what wood is, it's hidden for that person. If it was completely hidden consciousness, that would be something. But consciousness is not completely hidden. We all admit we are conscious, but we don't give too much importance to it. So who has ignorance? The sentient being, I, the jiva. Who is the sentient being? It's Brahman ultimately, really. But right now it is that pure consciousness associated with mind, intellect, body, senses, and thinking somehow, feeling, I am this mind, intellect, body, senses. Yeah, with consciousness, if you insist. But it is consciousness experiencing mind, body, intellect. That feeling is not there for us. That shift, paradigm shift, is what Vedanta tries to induce. That is called enlightenment in this way of knowledge. You see, it's quite different from devotional exercises. It's quite different from even meditative exercises. This is the distinction I want to draw out. It's not usually appreciated. Last question, sorry. Tell us your name and ask the question.
My name is Mohan. So you talked about consciousness being all there is, and it kind of reminded me of the view in philosophy into solipsism.
Yes.
It's basically the idea that my consciousness is all there is. No one.
Yes.
This is all that there is. Is there a conflict with that and what you're talking about? And it feels like there is because you constantly refer to all consciousness, right? I don't think you think you're the only conscious person. But if there is a conflict with solipsism, how can we deny the possibility of consciousness in like AI? Because what you said earlier, AI is essentially algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a neuroscientist might argue that our brain is just a big computer with algorithms in it.
Yes.
So how can we deny AI consciousness? And is there a conflict between this and solipsism?
Okay, good question. So solipsism is the idea. I'll distinguish solipsism from the Advaitic view. When you study Advaita, quite at some point you will quickly get the feeling you're talking about some kind of grand solipsism. Solipsism is the idea, and it's a fault in philosophy that I'm the only one who exists. You all are my dreams. I'm sorry, but I only exist. You don't. You're all my dreams. It's like living in a simulation where you're the only person who is real, and everybody else part of the computer. Computer is simulating all of them. It's like that, and that's a fault in philosophy. Some philosophy is driven to that. So why is Advaita different from solipsism? It seems to say there is only one consciousness, and I am that one consciousness. Because first of all, it says I not in the sense of one individual. Notice it first deconstructs the individual, not the body, not the mind. By the time you become the witness of the body mind, you're no longer a particular person. It's an impersonal consciousness. And then you go further to say it's the same consciousness in all beings. So we are actually talking about all living beings being illumined by one consciousness. We're talking about the oneness of all living beings. We're not talking about everybody being in the dream of one living being. Solipsism is classically defined as one mind is real and everything else is an experience in that mind. It's like a purely subjective perspective. But this is not that. It says all subjects are illumined by one consciousness. And this consciousness is not a particular mind. It's a witness of all minds. In fact, Vedanta admits freely there are many bodies and many minds and many persons, many points of view, but all of them are illumined by one consciousness. So that's quite different from the usual solipsistic view. Now, if I understood the second AI question, if you say the two aspects to it, one is a neuroscientist might say AI is algorithms, and you say it can't be conscious. But our brains and run by neural networks are also algorithms in a certain sense. So we are conscious. Why can't AI be conscious? Vedanta would say that we differ because we don't think that the brain generates consciousness, but the brain can work through these, and the consciousness can work through these brains, and it does. Clearly, consciousness works through these brains. Our brain activities closely correlated with our conscious experiences. That's beyond any doubt. You can push the question a little further. If the consciousness, let it be one non-dual consciousness, but clearly it works through these brains. So why can't it work through artificial brains and AI neural networks? And Vedanta would say there, it can in that sense, because ultimately Vedanta would say underlying the robot and the human machine and the artificial machine, artificial brain and this biological brain, underlying all of that is one universal consciousness. If it can express through one body and mind, why can't it express through another? What we are denying is that this consciousness is produced somehow by objective processes. I'll show you the difference in this. What I'm trying to say is that this consciousness is not an object. Algorithms are objects. Artificial brains and biological brains are objects. Objects is not producing another object. That is not consciousness. We are not talking about that. We are saying that's not possible. I had this argument with, or discussion with a professor of philosophy at CUNY, Massimo. He is a biologist and a professor of philosophy also. So he says, look, I am quite convinced, and I can't prove it, but I'm convinced that consciousness is a product of living brains. So even artificial brains can't be conscious, living brain. But I can't prove it. But give us time, 40, 50 years, we will prove it. It's called promissory materialism. Give us time, we'll prove it in time. And his argument is, look, life, we used to think that life cannot be explained. I mean, life is something divine, only God, and scientists cannot explain life. But now we can explain what you consider to be life down to its very molecular processes. And this is a good enough explanation. And I'm sure in 40, 50 years, we will do the same thing for consciousness. We'll be able to explain consciousness in terms of brain activity. And I said, no, I differ. Why? Here's the difference. From an Advaitic perspective, when you explain life in terms of molecular processes, Advaita has no problem with it because life is objective. A high level objective process is explained in terms of fundamental objective processes. That's basically science. Science does that all the time. But we are claiming that consciousness is not an object. And if you want to explain what is not an object, what is pure subject, in terms of objective brain processes, in philosophy, that's called a category error. You're making a big jump. Consciousness, according to Vedanta, is not an objective thing. It's not like life or the physical world. This is an argument. Good. On that note, let's bring the proceedings to a close. We do a peace chant.